All right, Jen. Well, we just listened to Penny Kittle, and she gave us some great ideas on Writer's Workshop and the importance of reading in our classrooms and the effect that it has on our students. So you just won a 500 book library.
Yes.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited for you. So what kind of process did you have to go through to get that from Penny Kittle?
It took me about a week to put the whole application together. So through Penny Kittle started the Book Love Foundation to help support teachers developing classroom libraries. The theory is that teachers know their students and they can help match students to books. And if they're in their classrooms, they can match them to books even quicker. Because I know at my school, a student, has $1 million fine and is not allowed to check out any more books. And that can really halt a student's reading rhythm. So in order to keep that from happening, it's great if I could just be, I have the perfect book for you. So I pull out my Barnes & Noble training and sell the books as best I can. So Penny chose about half the books, and then I chose about half the books. I used books that my students had said they really loved, books they had nominated for our Best Book of the Year speeches that we do at the end of each year, so I could come up with a classroom that was curated by the students. So now the books have arrived, they're all set up, and I mean, part of the benefit is just that the room is surrounded with books, so it's looming over them at all times. But it also helps me set up a joyful, authentic reading life. We're reading the books, we're talking about them, students give book talks, I give book talks, and we're just excited. And if you can tap into that excitement and that joy and that wonder, then the learning's just going to happen because they'll just want to find the next book.
Let's see, let's edit this part out. What kind of applications do you think that you're going to get from the workshops that we've attended with Penny Kittle? What kind of things do you think you'll incorporate into your classroom?
Well, I really love her reading response ideas from Book Love. So she talks a lot about asking students questions that actually would happen in an authentic reading conversation and would require thinking on the part of the students. So not so much, who was the narrator of the book, but was the narrator believable, and how do you know that? And so the students are engaging in these real questions that they are wondering about as they're reading, and they actually start, it's funny, they start naming, I think the book was about such and such, and I think the author was trying to tell me this, and I'm able to say, that's a theme, and I know some other books that are about a similar theme, would you like to read them? And so it serves as a source for me to name the analytical activities that they're using just naturally. Yeah, it's just happening. And so I'm affirming them, and it also leads me to those reading ladders that Terry talks about, so students can find the next book. And say, I know another book that deals with that. And then eventually we get to the point where they've read a few books that deal with the same theme, and we can talk about the great conversation. How does this book speak about the same subject as another book, and how is that different, and where do they intersect? And that's a lot of fun, too, to see them making those connections across their reading. I also use a lot of her ideas for reading rates and reading reflections. Each trimester we set goals, and each week we're setting a reading rate goal. So every student is not required to read the same number of pages, but the rate varies based on where they are as readers and which book they're reading. And in fact, I've even incorporated that into our common reading with To Kill a Mockingbird. So right now they're grouped according to how quickly they're reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And what's odd is it actually ended up being mixed ability. I thought it would be, slow readers are this particular type of student, fast readers are this type. But I have students who, they comprehend really well, but they just read slowly. And so the groups still are mixed ability. And what's beautiful about it is, say you're one of the faster groups and you start falling behind, well, that's okay, because I'll just switch you to a group that's reading a little slower. So it's not like a done deal for you. So it's even impacted how I approach those common reading experiences. But I tell students, I say, 80% of the reading you do this year, you are choosing. We will read four things together, but you're going to read so much more than that. And they really do. And when they know that that's how the class works, and that I'm expecting this of them, they're setting the goals, they're reading things that match their interests, there's a literacy fire that happens.
That's awesome. What's like their initial response that they get from when you're like, you're going to be doing so much reading? Are they just like, ugh? Or once they get into it, are they actually on fire for it? They're like, oh my gosh, I read this, Mrs. Brinkmeyer, and it was so great.
Well, being in the city of literature, one of the cities
Yes,
of literature,
you
is
are.
really
So
helpful
lucky.
because there's a lot of fire that I can feed off of. And so that's why I have a lot of students who are able to do book talks or, oh, so-and-so, you have to read this. And so I try to capitalize on that community energy. On top of that, at the start of the year, I do a questionnaire and students tell me about their reading diet. Do they have a balanced reading diet? Do they have a sweet tooth diet, you know, like straight up romance or straight up fantasy? Are they hungry? Just, I like books, but I really have a hard time finding the next one. Or are they fasting? You know, I don't read, and I'm content with that. That makes me happy. So we use that language at the start of the year so I can identify really quickly who is struggling and just needs help getting started, and who kind of, you know, has a rhythm that they can just at least start with, and then I can build with reading ladders from there. And so what I did was I identified and targeted those students who I knew, you know, the second we go into a library and say, "Ooh, pick out a book," they're going to be like, "No, thanks, but no thanks." So I went ahead and on the questionnaire I'd asked them what their interests are, what was the last good book they read. I looked at YALSA's Struggling Reader list of best books, and I picked out like 5 books for each of those students that I thought, these are ones that they'll like. And I made sure they were in the library, and I had the call numbers, so that way when we went to the library or when we're in the room, I could say, I know just the book for you, here it is, look at this, see if you like it.
Awesome.
And that was great because they immediately felt successful. They immediately knew that I knew them and had some ideas for them. And a few of them they would walk up to me and say, "Do you have anything for me, Mrs. Brinkmeyer?" I said, "I bet I do. Let's look through things here." So that was a lot of fun. So just to have that immediate access and for them to know immediately, hey, this person who I met yesterday was thinking about me last night
And that's really
and
important
wanted
for
me
students,
to
yeah.
read. And so I haven't had any students say, "Oh, I'm not really a reader," because I think that initial experience was awesome. So yeah, I hope that continues.
Awesome.